What's up, guys? It's Simon Fiaz, and today's video is on AQA AS. It says AS level, but A level physical multiple choice questions. Because some of these multiple choice questions are difficult. Question 1. What is the percentage atomic economy for the formation of sodium nitrite and the nitrate interaction between this? Recall the formula. Atom economy is M of desired products, so M of this over M of all reactants. And remember, when you find a percentage atom economy, you need to times by the moles, times by ml by moles. Pretty simple. Which involves the formation of dative covalent bond. This one's pretty tricky. But if you look at A, phosphorus and chlorine, well, that's a covalent bond because they're both non-metals. I look at B, that's ionic bond. I look at C, that's also ionic bond, Mg2 plus 2Cl minus, and therefore the answer must be D. Hydrogen can only have max of 2 electrons. Well, it's only got 1, but then negative charge, so it can only have max 2 negative charge electrons, therefore full outer shell, so it donates that electron. Which equation shows the process that occurs during second ionization energy of magnesium? This one, obviously, is just how well you know how to construct those equations. Which species chlorine is highest oxidation state? B, +7. You just work out all the oxidation states and then compare them. Which element has the lowest melting point? This one got me. But I'm a bit shocked I didn't get it. Write down all the charges, Na plus, Mg2 plus, K plus, Se2 plus. Cross out M, B, and D because obviously they're going to have the highest melting point because Mg2 plus. Left with A and C. And if you look at the periodic table, potassium is further down group 1's periodic table, therefore atomic radius is larger, outer electrons further away from nucleus, therefore C's got lowest melting point. 6. Which molecule has a permanent dipole? B, C, D, all symmetrical. A is unsymmetrical, it's got a permanent dipole. Which molecule can accept a pair of electrons for the formation of coordinate bond? Well, A already has a lone pair, NH2 with a lone pair of electrons, therefore it won't accept a lone pair, it wants to donate. I look at D, already has a lone pair, therefore won't accept a lone pair. And look at C, it can't form any or can't donate any, and therefore must be B. What's the equation for its ionization? Obviously D. Cross out A and C because liquid needs to be in its gaseous state. You're left with B and D. Obviously D is the only one that makes sense. Which has a bond angle, and you also need to know that equation as well. Which has a bond angle of 109.5 degrees. C, carbon diamond. Which conversion metal reduce? Write down all the oxidation states of the metals. So chromium, manganese, titanium, vanadium, and you can spot it's D. Which is the enthalpy change of distraction, kilojoules multiplied -1. Work with bond enthalpy, energy required to break bonds minus energy released when new bonds are formed. Use that formula, we get D. Question 12, which is alkanes the highest boiling point? This one got me. I was spending like whole time literally, I was like, obviously it's not going to be B. And I'm like, with this, I was drawing out and everything, and I was like, which one is it? Well, they both got the same MR, the same formula. But remember, this one's a branch chain, and the straight chain's decane is a straight chain, therefore the stronger van der Waals forces because they're next to each other, whereas the branch chains are further away from each other. So just by memorizing that key fact, which you should know, then you can spot it's A, because you're left with A and C, and therefore must be A. It can't be this butane, it's only got 4 carbons, and then the 2 methyl groups. What is the enthalpy change of kilojoules multiplied -1 for this reaction? This one's pretty tricky. This is one of the trickiest ones. Manipulate equation, just get the desired equation. Reverse this reaction. If you reverse it, the enthalpy change becomes positive. Times it by 2 and then add them together, and then you get B as your correct answer. You just need to be. How would I do this? Put your hands up during the exam, during your paper 3. Put your hand up, say, Miss or Sir, can I get to the invigilate? Can I get a bare piece of paper? And just try manipulating the equations. That's it. Usually it's just a reverse and then a times by 2. So just do that first. If that doesn't work, then try something else. Question 14, which represents the mean energy of the molecule? Well, mean energy is slightly to the right. Most probable energy. C is obviously the most probable energy is in the middle. Therefore, D is the mean energy. It can't be A and B because that's the number of molecules section. Which of these has the highest first ionization energy? Well, highest first ionization energy increased across period 3 just by memorizing that key fact. Therefore, it must be D. Sodium has a high second ionization energy, but it's also got the lowest first ionization energy. Question 16, what is the volume of gas mixture after the reaction at constant temperature and pressure? 30 centimeters cube nitrogen, 6 centimeters cube fluorine. Well, that must be 20 because 1 to 3 mole ratio. Therefore, the remaining is 10. and then you use the limiting region moles to find out the moles of this. That's really important. That's in excess. That's the limiting region moles. Using limiting region moles to calculate the moles of this. If you use these moles to calculate this, you won't get any of these options. You'll get 70 centimeters cubed, I think. So use the limiting region moles. Get this, you get 40. 40 plus 10 is 50. Therefore, your answer is D. Question 17. How many protons are there in 6 grams of nitrogen gas? Number 1, find out the moles, mass of MR. Then times by Avogadro's constant. And then you need to times by 14 because in 1 nitrogen, there are 14 protons. I don't know why I put 4, but you get the point. There are 14 protons. So find out moles, times by Avogadro's constant, times by 14. And your answer is C. 20 centimeters cube of butane completely burned 0.21 dm cube of oxygen, which statement is correct. Covered at centimeters cube 200, 1 to 6.5 molar ratio should be 130. Then what's remaining? 70 centimeters cube of oxygen. 200 minus 130 gives you 70. Heat release when 1 gram of ethanol undergoes complete combustion is that was the heat release by each molecule. Moles of mass of MR 1 over 46. Then convert the number of moles, to the number of molecules 1 over 46 times by Avogadro's constant. Then I want the heat release by each molecule, so 1 molecule. So I need to do the total heat release, 29,800, divided by number of molecules. And I get A. Question 20, the answer is D. How well do you know the Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution curve? Question 21, which change occurs when water is vaporized? Intermolecular forces are overcome. And this is really important on your understanding, also your learning. So yeah, C, it's not B. Covalent bonds are not broken when water vaporized. Intermolecular forces are overcome. Which equation does not represent redox reaction? Write down all the oxidation states of the metals and the whatever. So hydrogen, chlorine, oxygen. And then you find out it's D, because the oxidation states are not changed. Question 23, what's the amount of moles of potassium chloride to immediately decompose? So find out the number of moles of what using PV equivalent T of oxygen. Rearrange it, convert it to correct units. Then you get your number of moles of oxygen, not potassium chlorate. So then you need to times it by 2 over 3 to get that. That's the hardest part in my opinion, that last part. Because you don't know that work, like it's fine, but you need to do that final step. Temperature change from 21.8 degrees Celsius to 19.2 degrees Celsius during a calorimetry experiment. Uncertainty of each reading of the thermometer is plus or minus 0.1 degrees Celsius. What is the percentage of uncertainty in the temperature change? Well, do 21.8 minus 19.2, that's your denominator, and then your numerator is 0.1 times by 2 because you've got 2 temperature readings, times by 100 percentage, you get D. Which molecule is a permanent dipole? It's got to be D because A is completely symmetrical, same with B and C again, so therefore must be D. What's the electron configuration of V2 plus the ground state? A. What I would do is I would write down the electron configuration of V and then realize V2 plus, so I lose the 4s electrons before the 3d, so that disappears and I'm left with 3p6 3d3. 27 NO2 minus ions can be reduced in acidic solution to NO. How many electrons are gained when each NO2 minus ion is reduced? Well, what is this? It's being reduced, reduction, so I'm going to construct a half equation, NO2 minus to NO, balance it out, and then you spot adding an electron. That's the method I would now do it from. Just do that. Very, very good method to do that. Which compound has hydrogen bonding? Well, hydrogen bonding, NOF atom bonded to electron deficient hydrogen, must be B. Question 29, when driving a car, legal limit for ethanol is this much, but this much was the concentration, moles of mass of MR, moles concentration volume, concentration moles divided by volume. I guess the hardest part is convert from milligrams to grams, so divide by 1,000. Not too complicated. Question 30, what's element Z? Well, element Z must be in group 4, because that's where the massive jump in ionization energy is. Therefore, must be in group 4, just learn that. And therefore, it must be A or C, but it's got 70 electrons, because I see 7 ionization energy. Ionization number, carbon only has 6, therefore must be C. Which bond has the most unsymmetrical electron distribution? A. Which species has square planar shape? C. I already recognize that because from the knowledge of shapes. Question 33, which atom has the greatest number of unpaired electrons? It says C, but I'm not sure with this one. Question 34, which is not responsible for conducting electricity? Obviously, the lone pair of electrons in the liquid water molecules. Which compound has the highest boiling point? Obviously, not A, C, or D. None of them are hydrogen bonding. They look like A and C do, but that's an aldehyde, so C double bond O H, CH, C double bond O and then CH. Therefore, must be B. Which substance is oxygen's highest oxidation state? A, obviously, +2. Which of these ions has the largest ionic radius? Well, memorize the key fact: negative ions have larger ionic radiuses than positive ions, and you get A. What is empirical formula of oxide chlorine that contains 42.5% by mass of chlorine? Work out the moles, and then divide by small to mole ratio, and you get B. Question 39. Which line represents this second reaction? Well, first things first, it gives you this much and this much, that's line X. Find out the moles. 50 divided by 1000 times by 0.50. And you find out line X represents 0.25 moles. I don't even need to work out where. Then work out the moles of this, 0.0375. It's not going to be there if it's 0.0375. It must be C. But you can just work out. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 gaps. Do that, divide by 4, times by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You get 0.0375. So line C. Question 40. Which atom contains only 2 unpaired electrons? Oxygen. Draw out the electron configuration and you'll spot it. Question 41. Which incomplete half equation balanced by adding 2 H plus and the 1 electron to the left hand side? This one is, you can already spot it as B. It must be B because it's the only equation involving ions / charges. A isn't, C isn't, D isn't, so it literally must be B. Which isotope has 2 more protons, 3 more neutrons, and atom of that? Well, work out the number of protons, number of neutrons. So you find 48 protons, 61 neutrons. Add 2, so the bottom number must be 50, so you can cross A and D out. And then do the top number minus bottom number, top number minus bottom number, and you see C is the one with the correct number of neutrons you need, 67 neutrons. Samples of 4 different, because 3 more than neutrons than that. Samples of 4 different substances analyzed using time of flight mass spectrometry. In each case, samples are ionized to form ions with single positive charge. Ions accelerate to the same kinetic energy. Which sample gives ions with shortest time of flight? You can cross out A and C. They both have, that's MR45, that's MR12 plus 3 is 15, plus 12 is 12 plus 3 is 15, 15 plus 12, 27, 27 plus 2, 29 plus 16 plus 1. Yeah, they're both going to have high MR than the highest MRs. So cross those two out. Left with B and D. Both of them have the same MRs. But this one's ionized using electrospray. This one's using electron impact. So now it's your knowledge on this. Well, electrospray is good for large molecules. Whereas electron impact is good for small molecules. Like, think of it. A bullet has one of the most powerful impacts because it's so small and the speed at which it goes through, so it has a massive impact. Therefore, electron impact is good for small molecules. Electrospray is good for large molecules. It sprays away large molecules. It must be D then, because MR44 is a small molecule, so electrospray is not suitable for 3C3H8 because it's got a small MR, it's a small molecule, whereas electron impact is good for small molecules. Therefore, D is the correct answer.